Hi, everyone. This week we are discussing assessment and specifically the use of online assessment. I found two different articles, one that dealt with formative and one that dealt with summative assessment. Both were at the higher education level. It was easier to find stuff for that level, I'm assuming, because there's a lot more online development at the higher education level. So I'm going to talk about the formative assessment first, which, according to the author Bellini, is can be thought of as assessment for learning. It should be really just entrenched and ingrained into the instruction and the curriculum, and it's really there to give the instructor and the students a gauge of how they are handling the material before they get to the summative, which is usually thought of as like the unit test or the final. Okay. And then some, which is summative, I just defined that. And in that study, there were a lot of pros and cons. So some of the revolutions that came out of that were for professors, a lot of them considered it to be that they had an easier time grading online assessments. It was usually a lot quicker. The students enjoyed it because it was more convenient. They felt less stress and less pressure, and that they got really quick feedback because it's online. You can get, especially depending on the type of test, you could get feedback almost immediately. The challenges of online instruction that were laid out in both articles are that still to this day, a lot of students are accustomed to traditional assessments, and switching to online can be hard for them. In the second article, there were some students who were coming back to be educated after having a career, being out of education for a really long time, and they had never encountered an online assessment before, and it felt very unnatural to them, which really decreased their confidence level. Another problem would be if there were issues with computers. And personally, to me, I have a challenge that I would worry about student integrity. Hopefully, all of us at this Christian university are honest about using only the resources the professor has allowed on our assessments. But, you know, I live in Illinois, and if this was like a class I didn't feel comfortable with, if except for my own conscience, what is to stop me from having someone else take my test, And so yeah. Anyway, so how based on my personal theory of learning, how I feel students should be assessed. If the class is already an online format, such as the classes we are taking now, I see no reason to not have online in assessments. The student should be familiar with an assessment, especially a formative one, could be almost anything. Just about any assignment is considered an assessment. Discussion boards are a form of formative assessment. But if it is a class that meets in person, if the instructor wants to use an online assessment, I believe that they should include other things throughout the course that are also online so that students feel more comfortable and confident with it. So either having some assignments online or some other formative assessments are online. And my view is probably a little skewed because I teach high school math. And a lot of the teachers in my school, because we are one-to-one, they do use online tests because it's quicker for them and for the students sometimes. But I can't get away from it. I have to use a physical test for my students because if they get the final answer incorrect, I still need to know what work led to them getting that answer. Did they just forget a negative somewhere, or do they completely misunderstand the entire concept? So that's what's been important for me.